Straight talk. Dave Dickson on CFAX1070.
The next guest is out with a new book. He's actually going to be here. He's here in Victoria for the weekend, but he's talking about it tonight at Spark at 426 Montreal Street at 7:30. And the book is Patience, A Gay Man's Virtue. And it's my pleasure to welcome to the program Jed Lumiere. Jed, nice to see you.
Yes, you too. Thanks
for coming
me.
in. We were talking earlier. It's the best last name I've heard.
Thanks. Well, it trips a lot of people up, unfortunately.
It does. Yeah, it's great. Patience, A Gay Man's Virtue. Yeah. Talk about this book, this journey for you to put this together.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I started the book in 1999, and basically it's been a kind of a folly of events or a happenstance as it has been. It's basically my view is what it was like to grow up as an invisible minority in the 21st century or 20th, end of the 20th, 21st century.
The cusp there,
and it's been a really amazing experience as to everything that's happened in the United States and where Canada has come. I was originally from the United States, moved to Canada 4 years ago, and having a foot in both countries has really opened my eyes as to how many differences there are between the countries, even though there's just a thin border between us. But, I just really wanted to throw something funny out there. There are some serious things that I talk about, but it's really just a journey into myself, learning how to be who I am in a world that really isn't ready for people as they are. So it's just been amazing. Amazing
journey. And you grew up in northeastern United States?
Yeah, I grew up in New England.
In New England area. What was that like being a gay man or a gay youngster?
Well, it was kind of tricky. I grew up in a small town in Connecticut, and when you're an invisible minority, it's different than being a person of color or someone from another country or whatever, because those are visible attributes that people can look at and go, oh, you're not from here. But when you're an invisible minority, being someone like myself who kind of blends in with the rest of the small town crowd, people don't realize that they may be hating you right to your face. So the bigotry and the hatred, especially in a time before the internet and before people were really understanding more so than they are now, it was really tricky because you're a kid and people are saying these horrible things to you, and you're different. And as you're growing up as a teen and a tween and then a teenager and then a young adult, you're like, oh my gosh, is this really what people think of individuals like me? And
because they didn't know that you were gay, but they would make the comments and whatnot.
Yeah, so it wasn't really until I moved from Connecticut to Miami when I really started to understand the culture. So really I had like almost 20 years of what people didn't want in a person before I understood what it was like to be someone like myself. So it was interesting. It was tough.
Going from maybe a little bit more conservative atmosphere in Connecticut down to Miami. Not as conservative.
Not at all.
That must have been quite an eye-opener.
It was awesome, actually. It was a great place I did a lot of growing between like 18 and 21, learning about myself and where I wanted to be. And I started the book after I came back from that experience, because I then knew I kind of like, oh, wow, this is kind of fun, being in this world that I'm in and wanting to share it with people and have the stories that I learned to understand and share those with people who may be in a situation where they're kind of fighting with who they are and whatnot. Like I said, it's easier now for people because the internet is, and kids have more space. But really, I think it's not just about the gay community. It's about all communities. Like I said, immigrants are everywhere, and people of color still are really not where they need to be. Women also don't have necessarily all the equal rights, and I think a lot of people forget that. And, so this is not just a book about me and being a gay man in a gay community. It's about me being in a human community. And learning how to work with each other. It's one planet, we share it.
The internet can be really positive for connecting with people, but it can be really negative as well.
And scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you learn, there's a lot. It's information overload. And, I invite into that piece too, and I talk about it. And, I really want to just share that people, it's okay to be yourself. And it's fine. And people need to reconnect with themselves and other humans as humans, and not these little check boxes that society wants us to be.
It gets better.
Yes.
That's that campaign. Now, but it's easy to say that maybe now. How was it when you were younger, though, growing up in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Probably thought it isn't going to get easier.
It was hard. I mean, the only to go anywhere again before the big internet boom, it was like through the grapevine you found out about clubs that maybe you wouldn't be in trouble by going to, or like it was okay to go and be with other gay people. So it was kind of like a scary thing, because it's like, oh my gosh, we're going to go to this club and guys dance with guys and girls dance with girls, and is it going to get raided? Is there going to be a problem? Are we going to get beaten? And it's really, there was always a concern. We'd travel in pods, as we call them, like the whales do, and you wouldn't go out in twos, you go out in fours or sixes, because you just wanted to be sure, because it was still a very scary time and people will still wait outside. I'm sure it's not totally gone today, but it's better.
Yeah.
And it's getting better, and that's another point, that I really want to reach to people, is that it won't stop getting better unless we keep our voice loud, keep moving forward. It is getting better, but it's not there yet.
It's not. Still a lot of work to do, and you obviously spent time in Miami, then came to Canada. When you go back home to Connecticut, how much has that changed for you, that whole, I guess, gay community?
Yeah, there still is a very small one. I mean, obviously, you have the larger cities and whatnot. It's a little easier now. New York, and now that Connecticut does have, as far as they can go with gay marriage, I think that helps a lot. Is they do allow the full gay marriage now, although outside the state, you really don't have those rights anymore. You lose them or have to go into another state like Massachusetts or Vermont that has them. So again, it is a step in the right direction, but still, it's the recognition of being a gay man or a same-sex couple is still really tough, and you notice it a lot when you cross the borders. And even when I travel, it's when we travel together, my partner and I, it's like we're not really viewed as a family when we go over, when we cross the border and go down, and that's still problematic for me. Now you have to have the same last name, or the rules are always different, even though they want them to be the same, and it's still, I think, a gray area for them, and it is getting better, like I said, but we gotta keep going. We can't stop, and it's not just for, like I said, the gay community. It's for all communities who are striving to get to the next step for full equality.
Why did you choose to move to Canada?
I actually, my dad is from Quebec.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my dad is from Quebec.
So you're a dual citizen?
I am not a dual citizen yet. I will be here shortly this year. But I've kind of always had a love for the country, and I used to travel up here a lot, especially when we were underage for drinking in the States. We'd cross the border.
You go to Quebec when you're 18 as opposed to 21 in the States.
Exactly. And so, we just a lot of fond memories here. And honestly, it's nice to know that I can walk out my front door and be equal to everybody and share in the civil marriage that we have in this country and be equal. And it's not so much of a battle in Canada, and Canadians really have a lot of wonderful rights that, as someone who's going to be joining the country as a citizen shortly, I want to be sure that Canadians understand how lucky they are. And I speak to that, in many different venues because, is Canada perfect? No, it's not. No country is. But it's just wonderful coming to a country where it's like written in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that you are equal, and the government has no right in your personal life. It's just to see it in black and white and have it, people actually defending that is just a great thing.
We probably take it for granted a little bit living here.
I think so.
Until we see situations like the States and other countries.
I think there is some complacency. I do. But it's not, I don't feel it's at a terminal point yet where it's, people are just engaging all together. But it would be a shame if that happens. And, this is one of the things that I really want to bring out is that we got to keep going and make sure that if there's something that you don't like, the governments are there to work for you, you got to keep your voice there. So,
we're talking with Jed Lumiere. He's the author of the brand new book, Patient, A Gay Man's Virtue, and he's here in Victoria for the weekend. He's going to be at Spark tonight, 426 Montreal Street in James Bay at 7:30 to talk a little bit about his book. Now, here in Canada, what's it like in New Brunswick? For you, what are you doing out there? Why'd you choose New Brunswick? I guess I live in BC. I always think, New Brunswick?
Well, it's close. My parents are still in Connecticut, so it's close there. And it's quiet. I came from the New York City metro area. That's where my last my last corporate position was before I left corporate America. And I think I just needed to take time out and relax. It's much quieter there, a little bit more rural.
Sure.
A lot more rural, actually. We have moose and we just got electricity. So other than that, it's just a great place to call home. And again, living there, there's no, when people find out that you're gay, they don't freak out like they kind of do in the States and say, what do you people eat? I've had that question. I've gotten that question before, Dave. I'm not kidding. What do you people eat? I've gotten the question. I'm not kidding. And, it's just a great place to call home. And, it's pretty easy to travel with the rest of Canada. So not quite a big city. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of news over the last couple of months out of the United States. So, of course, we're going to be focusing on that a little bit. But President Obama, about 2 months ago, coming out endorsing gay marriage, really the first sitting president ever to do that. That was a big deal. You must have been happy about that announcement.
Well, it was a big deal, but now it's sparked all this conspiracy, especially with the conservatives. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because now it's Pride Month internationally, or International Pride Month, or whatever it is in July. And I think we're seeing a lot of people starting to come out and make a stand. And, Anderson Cooper just came out recently.
Yeah.
He said, he's not an activist per se, but he feels the need to stand up and be counted. And that's really what it is. Not necessarily you don't have to run around and, constantly spout, this, that, and the other thing, but to be counted is the important thing. And I think that in the gay community today, we still are not counted It's kind of like being a half citizen. We get some of the rights, but not all of them. And then, we've got this other whole hazy thing. So when Obama came out with that, things went nuts, and it trended for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so it's been an interesting follow for the last couple of weeks, months now. It's been 2 months, and watching the news. So it's been really interesting to see how things are moving and everything that's happening. And, about 30 states kind of got up in arms, and they're just like, oh, we're going to be conservative, we're going to ban this, and we don't want this, and blah,
changing
blah, blah.
their constitution.
Changing
North Carolina
yes.
had the vote. I can't remember, was it the day before his announcement, I believe?
I believe it was.
They went to the polls.
Yeah.
When you see that, when you see states taking that action, voters, citizens saying, no, we don't want to change our marriage rules, what does that make you think?
It's hard, honestly, because the United States Constitution and whatnot, not the local constitutions, but the federal Constitution has been ratified several times over many years to allow equality, the equality of a person of color, the equality of women to vote and stuff like that. And changes, women, I don't think were allowed to have like bank accounts of their own until like the late 70s or 60s. I apologize, I don't know the date, but, so it hurts me a little bit to think that we're purposely promoting this bigotry and hatred when we've done so much to get away from that, and we've worked so hard to make people equal, and now we've got folks saying, oh, that's not what we're interested in, we don't want that because this, that, or the other thing. So again, we still have a fight. It's still a fight.
Well, that's the nice thing about Canada, because we have the charter, so it covers the whole country. But in the States, it's so different because it's a state issue.
It is a state issue,
which is just so different from here.
Absolutely, and and I think if it were a federal issue or a federal mandate, it'd be easier. But like here, when you're married in one province, you have the federal protection.
It's universal.
But in Canada, that's obviously different. In the States, like I said, it is a local government to allow equal rights, and even when it comes to work, protection in the workplace, there's still a lot of discrepancies and issues.
Is that right?
To deal with that. Yeah, it's problematic still.
You mentioned Anderson Cooper coming out I think it was last week or early this week.
I believe it was Tuesday.
Maybe Tuesday.
When I woke up and contacted my publicist. And
there you
go.
go.
Oh my gosh, you have to get on this.
Right, Anderson Cooper coming out, which I already thought that he was gay, and he came out saying so. Do you think when you hear that? Is that good, or are we still at the point it's like, what's the big deal? Why does it matter if Anderson Cooper is gay or not?
Right, and
personally, it doesn't affect me. Like, I don't really care. Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it boils down to, Dave, what it is that folks, and he even says that he's been comfortable with his family and friends and always been honest about it and whatnot. But when it comes to a public thing, especially like Ellen did her thing and Rosie did her thing and whatnot, you're not really sure where people are going to fall with that. I mean, did people have their speculation about Anderson? Sure. I mean, everyone did, but does it matter? No. But, for me, what I feel is that when you're getting in touch with yourself and getting used to yourself and learning how to be your own person in the world that we live in, one of the things that I say is that, it's not everybody's business, whether or not you're gay or, transgendered or bisexual, whatever the case may be. But if you don't like yourself, your marketing stinks. And that's really what it is, because you are marketing your whole person. And so I think in that case, he didn't maybe feel the need to market that aspect of himself, but it is a part of who he is. And, he should be proud of that. And obviously he is. And so it's a hats off to him.
I haven't really heard much of a backlash or anything.
Oh, not at all. I mean,
there shouldn't be.
Anderson's just, I think, a phenomenal person. And I think that, a lot of people, again, A, already knew, or B, just really don't care. But, at the end of the day, I think that, hats off to him for doing what he did. I think it's fantastic.
You mentioned some media people, some high profile people, Ellen and Anderson. Yeah. I think the next one will have to be a current major high-profile professional athlete. I think that would be big. We haven't had that in North America. That there are people that are living with this,
absolutely
wanting to come out. We've seen that after they retire, some have come out, but never current ones. Right. I think that would be big.
I think so too, and I hope it happens. I mean, like you said, I don't know why at this day and age people still have that fear, especially if they're secure in themselves and what. But again, tying it back to even being back home and people in jobs where you can still be fired for it, it has health benefits too. So it's really a bigger thing. It's very political because people will lose their jobs and then their health benefits, and then they have families, or whatever the case may be. So it's a bigger part of the picture. So there's a lot to it. It's not just that. So
not just coming out. There's a lot of things you got to think about, don't you?
Yeah.
And I was encouraged. I don't know if you followed this campaign. It kicked kicked off a few months ago. Brian Burke, the Toronto Maple Leafs general manager, his son had come out saying that he was gay, and then tragically was killed a few months later in a car crash. But him and his other son, Patrick, came out with the You Can Play campaign, which I was really encouraged with. I got to talk to Patrick Burke about that because the homophobia that still surrounds sports is so prevalent, and here these guys are coming out and they're getting all these other athletes to support this campaign. I thought that was really, really positive.
It is very positive, and again, one of the things I really like to touch upon is that almost that double standard in sports.